what is happening now on the energy market? What's with these huge bills?
Yeah, maybe I can first of all explain what is our activity as a company. So our task is to take over the energy from the transmission operators, from the energy highway, so to say, and to bring it to the customers and to the companies, inside your house, for instance. Yeah. And so we have to buy the energy from producers and from importers. Then we resell to the customers, and for this service, buying and selling, we have a certain margin in our invoices, which we did not increase. We did not increase since months, we did not increase since last year, this part of service. So, and with this money, we are paying our employees for invoicing millions of customers, for the billing systems, for call centers, for our colleagues sitting in the customer care centers and so on. And this part of the invoice has not increased at all. So I think this explains where the money now is flowing to, why the energy prices are so high. So, and maybe I can show you here a picture about who gets what. Yeah. And so the service of suppliers, of our colleagues for the customer care center and so on, did not change. If someone paid 100 lei in spring last year, we still take the same 5 lei only. Yeah. All the rest is going to transmission operators, system operators, and there the state is regulating the tariffs, so that's not something special neither. And also here, for instance, in gas, it did not change now. But what did change is that producers are asking far more money than they did before. And if we have to buy energy for our customers, I'm now exposed to these crises and to these prices, which is, I can't believe these prices. And I don't know exactly what happens there. I have some explanations, but what is going on there is crazy. I do not get any energy for reasonable prices anymore. But I have to buy it each day because I cannot tell my customers today it was too expensive, I won't deliver you. I have to do it. So that's our part. And while the prices are really changing so strongly, the taxes also increased. And by the way, many of the producers are also owned by the state. Some are not, of course, and the importers are not. But so the state takes a big portion of what we have to invoice. So I think it is a big misunderstanding what happens here, because our name is on the invoice we send to the customers, it's true. But only a very small part, and this part has not increased, is in our responsibility. All the rest is on the responsibility of producers, of importers, and of the state. And I can really tell you that 100% of the price increase goes somewhere else. I have to forward it, and that's a very unfortunate situation for us too.
So tell us, why were you fined by ANPC?
ANPC did some controls in the last month, and if there are 7,000 people working for millions of customers, it can happen from time to time that there was a mistake here, a mistake there. So we have been fined in the past, but very specific on very few simple cases. What happens now is something very, I'm very disappointed here on the public communication also. ANPC came last week to all our offices, or almost all our offices, and is making controls whether we applied the new law correctly. And in this moment in time, in some places the controls are still ongoing, but some already are finalized, and they really confirmed that we fully applied the law. And here I think I cannot talk about what competitors did. But I can tell that we really applied, as the first company in Romania, immediately when the new law was entered into force, any reduction and any discount we had to do. Which was a challenge because the law was just changed and completely end of October and entered into force. So on Friday it was decided and entered into force on Monday. And we have been working like hell to make the reductions immediately, even though no one really knew how the law to apply. So we have, for instance, do you cap first and then you make the compensarea, or do you do first the compensarea and then you apply the cap? Just one question of many questions. And the norms only appeared late in November, and even the question how to exactly apply the TVA was clarified only in December. But with this, we know that the energy we deliver to our customers is very important for them, and we know that these very unfortunate situation is everybody needs to contribute. That's why we decided to implement immediately the reductions, even though we could not be sure whether exactly this is the way to do. Fortunately, it was confirmed that we did it correctly, but we have taken the risk, and so we applied even in the very first days of November already the reductions. ANEPC made control whether we applied the law correctly, and we got no fine. Absolutely no fine for applying the energy support law to reduce the invoices and to apply the cap. They have been controlled in many locations, and some controls are already closed, and they confirmed that we apply the law, and so far we did not receive any fine in this context, whether the invoices are correct or not.
And the fine was for?
The fine we received, that was for single mistakes, but already some months ago. Absolutely no context with the application of this law. So as I said, the controls took place last week on whether we apply this law, and absolutely no fine, but rather confirmation. And in some places the controls are still ongoing in this moment in time, but in some it's already closed, and we have one system only. So we apply everything in every place in the same way, and so it was confirmed already that we do it correctly. And I'm very proud that we have been able to change a billing system in very few days. So I'm proud of my colleagues doing this. I even have not seen it in any other country that such a huge billing system could be changed within very few days and already running correctly.
So you can.
We made it possible, and I think that's why the minister and other people were mentioning that one supplier did it correctly, and I think it was us.
Okay. How many of your customers were qualified to get this cap?
So in electricity, it's 60% of the customers that qualify, and in the natural gas, it's 50% roughly. So the law is specifying which groups of customers can receive a reduction, and in our case, these are the numbers.
What could you tell us about this law? Is it efficient for the vulnerable customers, for the people that have lower incomes?
So who shall receive a reduction or not is finally a political question. I think it is not okay if private companies decide who gets a reduction and who not. It needs to be a political debate, which was performed in October. So we just apply the law. In principle, I think it is a good way how the law has been done, because it takes money from where it goes to. Right now, all the money goes to producers and importers, and to a large portion to the state, also via the higher amount of taxes they receive in energy now. And yes, this money needs to be taken again somehow to redistribute it to customers, because not everybody can pay these very high prices. That's absolutely clear.
What about other measures that could have taken to help customers? What do you say about a lower VTA in energy?
That's one good proposal. There are many possible ways how you can do it. But it's clear invoices need to be reduced. These prices we currently see at the wholesale markets, the producers and the importers are right now asking for, it is not sustainable. It cannot stay like this. The background there is three reasons why the prices are so high. So one is a Green Deal and higher prices for CO2 emissions, but it's not the main reason. The main reason is that worldwide energy prices go up because there's competition of all the whole industry in the world to catch up production that was lost to Corona. Now they want to produce everything even quicker. They need more energy. But there's a specific thing that is only coming to Europe right now in this. Europe is dependent from gas imports. And the imports, physical imports, are very low in this moment. And it is true that also when in our contracts we have with importers from Russia, they fulfill their commitment. But how they do, I cannot say whether they buy the gas from the European market instead of importing and then reselling to fulfill their contractual obligations or not. I cannot say. No one knows exactly. But what I do know is that the physical imports from Russia are record low. And the gas storages are low too. Not in our case. We have stored for our customers what we need to do, but if I see in Europe, the storage is too low and the imports are low. And we have a geopolitical hot situation right now, and that's why the prices in Europe are even higher than somewhere else in the world. And it's an energy crisis worldwide in addition, it's in the same time.
Have you ever seen such a crisis on the energy market before?
No, I'm working in this industry for more than 20 years and never I've seen something like this. And I can tell you this has nothing to do with liberalization or not. It happens also in the regulated markets right now because there's a scarcity of energy and that's a problem. So the real problem behind is the lack of investments in the past. And you asked me for other measures to take now. I think there are many possibilities to distribute from the state budget or to do it like the French way. The French says those having power plants where the production costs have not increased, power plants that are written off, depreciated already, older power plants, they have to give energy for lower price to customers and not to ask the other high market prices. This could be a solution too. But what I think is completely wrong if you start to re-regulate the whole industry, how often this mistake should be repeated. It was done in the last years many often, and the result is the investments did not take place. And therefore, we have to support customers. The political decisions are to be taken to support our customers, but not by re-regulation of the whole sector, but by reducing invoices where it needs to be reduced.
What about windfall tax for suppliers? Do you think it's a good idea?
Well, I just explained to you where the money goes to. 100% of the increases of what is now more on the invoices we ask our customers. 100% of the increase goes not to our pockets as suppliers, but goes somewhere else. It goes to distributors, sorry, not for distributors, but for producers. All the increases go for producers and importers, and a part of it via taxes to the state.
What is happening in other countries?
Well, yeah, this is a European crisis, and therefore it happens everywhere. In other countries, often customers have contracts for a longer period. So then, if you have such a contract, your price stays stable until the new contract needs to be done, and then it is the same situation all over Europe right now.
How long do you think these prices will be? Do you expect that in spring the prices would go lower?
I hope very much for this, but I cannot tell you whether it is going to happen. Because as I told you, the world market, world request for energy, I don't know whether it's going to change. And very much depends on imports from Russia. And if this situation is not helped, then I don't know why the prices should go down. So, of course, the summer will help, the climate will be better, the gas consumption will be lower. This maybe relax a little bit the situation, but Europe is dependent from Russia right now, and therefore everything depends on this one.
Did you anticipate such a crisis?
No, I never would have expected such a crisis. So I think, and no one did in Europe, no one did. And I think this cannot go on for eternity like this. So it is not good to be dependent from imports. Therefore, I think also it is very urgent that Romania opens the gas reservoirs in the Black Sea. And Romania is in a very good situation in comparison to other European countries because Romania has gas. And I think this is a way to go forward, to open this gas and to make it available.
What should customers do in order to lower their bills?
Yeah, we give our customers the advice to take care of their amount of consumption, because that's according to the law. If you are in a certain group of consumption, if you are not consumed too much, then you are eligible for reductions. So that's the only advice I can give. The law is as it is. And if a customer consumes too much, he's suddenly not eligible anymore. So that's the advice we can give to our customers. What we also did is that we introduced a new product in autumn already, in October, where you can at least avoid to have different invoices in winter and in summer, because we made it a flat invoice each month the same amount in order to somehow help the customers not to have so huge bills in winter, but redistribute a little bit along the month. And last but not least, if a customer comes to us and explains the situation that this invoice right now is too high, we can find a mode of reschedule payments, and that's what we also already do. But this is nothing new, we always did it like this, on a specific request. We explain very intensively how the law works, also on our website. We want to be transparent, and we explain it with the ministers or public statements generally asking all the customers right now, calling the suppliers. Right now we have not hundreds or thousands of calls as usual, we have hundred thousands of calls, and this of course I know that leads to this non-satisfactory situation, that not everybody can immediately have one of our agents. We increased our people there, and I think very soon we will be able to answer all the questions also. But with this call for call your supplier, of course this is for a certain moment in time. This morning, for instance, a bit too much for everybody. But we are informing on our website. We have our at least our robot answering. So the most items can be solved already there, and we'll make sure they again to be available also in person.
Which is the best temperature in house people should have in winter?
Well, this depends on the needs of the customer. So it's not up to us to decide what temperature you should have in the house. I think we know that the energy we provide is very important for our customers. So I think for the needs like not having cold in your house and having a light, this should be payable for everybody. Therefore, that's also what we argued already in the last month. There needs to be a law making this sure, because we have to pay these prices at the wholesale market to the producers and importers. Otherwise, I don't get the energy for the customers. But this is not good for the customers, and therefore the political debate was ongoing, and we always said, please do something that at least the basic needs are covered, and do it somehow simple, because the crisis was coming up in autumn and we had to find immediately a solution. So political decisions have been taken, and we took care to implement them immediately, correctly, in order to help our customers, even by taking the risks that the norms from the law came later. And maybe we have misunderstood something. From what I know, we did not happily, so we implemented it correctly. If further clarifications or changes in law are coming up, we will take care to implement that immediately in the invoices by ourselves.
Do you think the measures were enough? The cap should be lower, or the compensation should be bigger from the state budget?
As I said, who shall take a reduction should not be in the hands of private companies to decide. It needs to be a political debate. And if the cap would be lowered or the compensaria, this compensation is increased, I think for us as a suppliers, it's absolutely okay. Because as I said, we have to pay prices to the wholesale market. We do not want to have high prices for our customers. We did not increase our share, but we have to apply the law, and that's what we precisely do.
When should you get the first money from the state?
Right in these days, in January. So as we have been the first company applying immediately the reductions, we are the first one to ask to the state for the difference. And the law is very clear on this. The law says we have to pay 30 days after the request of the supplier has been made. So we made it in December. Now the payment term comes. And also in the political debate, when the law was written, there was a question, yeah, but can we have then all the documentation already in place and so on? And can the authorities check each detail everywhere in such a short time? And therefore the law said, okay, we cannot not pay, because then the suppliers are not able to continue to work anymore, and then the last suppliers, not even the big ones, are going to serious problems. So let's pay after 30 days, but implement a mechanism that if something needs to be corrected afterwards, there's a legal obligation either to the state to pay what has not been paid, or to the suppliers to pay it back. So, and this is done each month, and therefore I'm expecting the money in these days to arrive, in order to stabilize also the activities. And I think some statements were made, we will not pay the suppliers, which may be misunderstood, because I think it's only relating to those maybe not applying the law correctly. I cannot talk about the competitors, but I know we applied it correctly. And then it's a legal obligation also to the state to pay, and I'm sure that no government will take illegal decisions, so I'm expecting the money very soon.